My friends, we are living in a noisy world. Everywhere you turn, voices are shouting, telling you who you should be, what you should prove, and how loudly you must defend yourself. But tonight, I want to tell you something simple, something eternal, something life-changing. God does His deepest work in silence. As we step toward 2026, the greatest battle you will fight is not against people. It is within your own heart. This is not the year to argue, to explain, or to chase approval. This is the year to focus on yourself, to walk quietly with God, and to let your character speak louder than your words. Because when you grow in silence, when you obey in secret, when you trust God without announcing it, He will lift you up in His perfect time. Today, we are going to talk about why focusing on yourself and staying silent in 2026 may be the most powerful decision you ever make. Silence is often misunderstood in a world that rewards noise, reaction, and constant explanation. Many people believe that if you are quiet, you are losing, weak, or afraid. But true silence is not the absence of power, it is the presence of control. It takes strength to remain calm when provoked, wisdom to listen when others are shouting, and faith to wait when impatience demands immediate response. Silence is the ability to govern your emotions instead of allowing emotions to govern you. When you stay silent, you are not surrendering your position, you are protecting your peace. Spiritual strength is formed in restraint, not in reaction. Anyone can argue, defend, or retaliate, but very few can pause, reflect, and choose stillness. Silence requires self-mastery, and self-mastery is one of the highest forms of inner power. When you do not speak impulsively, you deny negativity the fuel it needs to grow. Arguments fade when they are not fed, and conflicts lose power when they are not echoed. Silence becomes a shield that guards your heart, your mind, and your purpose. In silence, clarity is sharpened. Noise confuses, but quiet reveals. When you step back from constant talking and reacting, you begin to hear what truly matters. You hear your conscience more clearly. You recognize your weaknesses honestly. You become aware of your strengths without needing validation. Silence allows you to see situations as they are, not as emotions distort them to be. It creates space for discernment, where decisions are made wisely rather than emotionally. Silence also shifts power dynamics. The one who speaks less often controls the conversation without trying. When words are limited, they gain weight. When responses are delayed, they gain authority. Silence unsettles those who expect reaction and frustrates those who seek control. It forces others to reveal themselves while you remain guarded. In this way, silence becomes a strategic strength, not a passive retreat. Spiritually, silence is where transformation begins. Growth does not start in public applause, but in private discipline. Prayer, reflection, and self-correction all require quietness. In silence, ego weakens and humility grows. You begin to understand that not every opinion requires your response, and not every misunderstanding requires your explanation. Trust deepens when you realize that your worth is not measured by how loudly you speak, but by how consistently you live. Silence builds endurance. When you choose not to react, you train your soul to withstand pressure. You learn patience, you learn timing. You learn that strength is not always visible, but it is always effective. Over time, this discipline changes how you carry yourself. Confidence replaces defensiveness. Calm replaces chaos. Purpose replaces distraction. Those who master silence are rarely shaken. They do not rush to prove themselves because they know who they are. They do not chase attention because they are focused on direction. Their strength is rooted, not reactive. Silence becomes their language of maturity, their sign of wisdom, and their evidence of growth. Most meaningful change begins away from the spotlight, far from applause and recognition. People often admire success without understanding the long season of unseen effort that came before it. Growth is quiet by nature. It happens in moments of discipline when no one is watching, in choices made when there is no reward, and in habits formed without encouragement. Before anything strong can stand in public, it must first be built in private. Private growth is where character is shaped. Skills can be learned openly, but integrity is developed in solitude. What you do when there is no audience reveals who you truly are. In those hidden moments, excuses lose their power and honesty takes over. You confront your weaknesses without pretending. You recognize patterns that need to change. This self-awareness becomes the foundation for real transformation, not the temporary kind that fades when attention disappears. When growth remains unseen, it becomes deeper and more authentic. Public recognition can pressure people to perform rather than to improve. In private, there is freedom to fail, to restart, and to refine without shame. Progress may be slow, but it is stable. Each small improvement compounds quietly, creating strength that cannot be shaken when challenges arise. This kind of growth is not dependent on praise, so it does not collapse under criticism. There is also protection in growing privately. When your plans, goals, and improvements are hidden, they are less vulnerable to doubt, interference, and discouragement. Not everyone understands your process, and not everyone needs access to it. Silence around your growth preserves your focus. Energy that would have been spent explaining yourself is redirected into becoming better. This focus accelerates development more than constant validation ever could. Private preparation creates public confidence. When the time comes to be seen, there is no need to pretend or exaggerate. The work speaks naturally. Confidence is calm because it is earned, not borrowed. There is a noticeable difference between someone who appears strong and someone who has been strengthened. The latter does not seek attention. Attention finds them. Their presence carries weight because it is backed by consistent effort over time. Public results are simply the visible evidence of invisible discipline. Overnight success is usually the result of years of quiet persistence. People may be surprised by how far you have come, but you will not be surprised because you know the work that was done in silence. This awareness keeps you grounded and humble even when recognition arrives. When growth happens privately, it aligns you with patience and timing. You learn to trust the process instead of rushing outcomes. You become comfortable with being unseen for a season, knowing that roots must grow before fruit appears. This understanding transforms how you measure progress, shifting focus from external approval to internal development. Energy is one of the most valuable resources you possess, yet many people spend it carelessly on conflicts that offer no return. Not every disagreement deserves your attention, and not every provocation requires a response. Some battles are designed to drain you, distract you, and pull you away from what truly matters. Wisdom is knowing the difference between what must be confronted and what must be released. Many arguments feel urgent in the moment, but meaningless in the long run. Ego pushes you to defend your image, correct every misunderstanding, and prove your point. But peace asks a different question: will this matter tomorrow, next month, or next year? When the answer is no, engagement becomes a waste rather than a victory. Choosing not to respond is not avoidance, it is intentional focus. Every battle you engage in makes a demand on your emotional strength. Stress accumulates when you repeatedly explain yourself, justify your choices, or react to criticism. Over time, this constant pressure clouds judgment and weakens motivation. When energy is scattered across unnecessary conflicts, there is little left for growth, creativity, or healing. Protecting your energy means setting boundaries around what you allow to disturb your inner balance. There are people who thrive on reaction. They provoke not because they seek truth, but because they seek control. Responding gives them what they want. Silence removes their leverage. When you stop feeding conflict, it loses momentum. This shift often feels uncomfortable at first, especially if you are used to defending yourself. But with time it becomes empowering. You realize that your peace does not depend on winning arguments, but on refusing to be pulled into them. Choosing your battles carefully sharpens discernment. You begin to ask whether a situation aligns with your values or simply challenges your patience. Some issues require courage and confrontation, especially when truth, justice, or integrity are at stake. But many situations are rooted in opinion, jealousy, or misunderstanding, and engaging them only creates noise. Learning to distinguish between these saves both emotional and mental strength. When you conserve your energy, focus improves. Instead of being reactive, you become intentional. Goals receive more attention. Relationships that matter are nurtured. Personal development accelerates because your mind is no longer crowded with unnecessary conflict. Calm replaces chaos, and clarity replaces confusion. This redirection of energy transforms productivity and emotional stability. There is also maturity in letting go. Growth changes how you measure success. Winning an argument becomes less important than maintaining peace. Proving yourself becomes less important than becoming better. As perspective deepens, you understand that silence can communicate confidence more clearly than words ever could. It signals that you are secure enough not to be shaken by every opinion. Over time, people notice the shift. Your reactions become measured. Your presence becomes steady. You are no longer easily pulled into drama, and that stability commands respect without demand. The absence of constant reaction creates space for intentional living, where energy is invested in purpose rather than wasted on distraction. Understanding that not every battle deserves your voice is a form of self-respect. It acknowledges that your time, focus, and emotional strength have value. By choosing where to stand and where to step back, you regain control over your inner world. This control becomes a quiet power that shapes how you move through challenges, preserving peace while strengthening purpose. Destiny is shaped less by moments of recognition and more by daily choices made when no one is watching. Applause can motivate, but it cannot transform. Discipline, on the other hand, works quietly and consistently, shaping direction over time. When actions are guided by values rather than validation, progress becomes stable and meaningful. Obedience to principles builds alignment between intention and behavior. It requires commitment even when results are delayed and effort feels unseen. This form of obedience strengthens character, teaching patience and responsibility. It shifts focus away from pleasing people and toward honoring purpose. In that shift, distractions lose their hold and priorities become clear. Seeking applause often leads to shortcuts, compromise, and exhaustion. Discipline demands consistency without immediate reward, but it produces lasting strength. While praise fades quickly, disciplined habits compound steadily, influencing decisions and outcomes. Over time, what is practiced in private becomes evident in results, proving that destiny responds more to obedience and discipline than to external approval. True focus begins when attention is turned inward rather than outward. Many people lose momentum because they are constantly watching others, comparing progress, and reacting to opinions. When focus is redirected toward personal growth and spiritual alignment, clarity emerges. Distractions fade as purpose sharpens, allowing energy to be invested where it truly matters. Focusing on God and on personal responsibility creates stability. Instead of being shaken by circumstances or external voices, decisions are guided by conviction. This inner alignment builds confidence that does not depend on validation. When faith and self-discipline work together, actions become intentional rather than reactive. Progress may be quiet, but it is consistent. Results naturally follow focused effort. There is no need to announce plans or explain every step. When growth is genuine, outcomes speak without assistance. Consistency produces visible change, and integrity builds trust over time. People begin to notice the difference, not because it is promoted, but because it is evident. Staying grounded in faith and self-awareness also encourages patience. Timing becomes less rushed, and comparison loses its power. Success is measured by alignment rather than speed. When attention remains fixed on growth and obedience, outcomes arrive with depth and sustainability, demonstrating that focused living produces results that words never could. Discipline is the quiet structure that holds a focused life together. Motivation rises and falls, but discipline remains steady, guiding behavior even when feelings resist. It is built through repeated choices that prioritize long-term purpose over short-term comfort. Each disciplined action strengthens self-trust, proving that commitment is not dependent on mood or circumstance. Over time, this reliability becomes a source of confidence that cannot be taken away. Consistency transforms ordinary effort into extraordinary results. Small actions repeated daily reshape habits and identity. What seems insignificant in isolation gains power through repetition. Discipline trains the mind to value progress over perfection, encouraging steady movement instead of dramatic but unsustainable bursts. This rhythm reduces burnout and increases resilience, allowing growth to continue even during difficult seasons. Discipline also creates freedom. While it appears restrictive at first, it ultimately removes chaos and indecision. Clear routines reduce mental clutter, conserving energy for meaningful work. When boundaries are defined, distractions lose influence. This clarity makes it easier to say no to what does not align with purpose and yes to what does. In this way, discipline protects focus rather than limiting it. There is strength in delayed gratification. Discipline teaches patience by postponing immediate pleasure in favor of future benefit. This restraint sharpens judgment and builds emotional maturity. Instead of reacting impulsively, disciplined individuals respond thoughtfully. They understand that progress is cumulative and that sacrifice today strengthens outcomes tomorrow. This mindset changes how challenges are approached, turning obstacles into training rather than threats. Discipline deepens self-respect. Keeping promises to oneself builds integrity. Each followed through commitment reinforces identity, creating alignment between intention and action. This alignment reduces inner conflict and increases peace. When actions consistently reflect values, confidence grows quietly. There is no need for external validation when self-respect is intact. Focus is sustained by disciplined attention. In a world designed to distract, guarding attention is essential. Discipline trains the mind to return to priorities repeatedly, even when distractions are appealing. This practice strengthens concentration and improves decision-making. With time, focus becomes less effortful and more natural, supported by established habits rather than constant willpower. Discipline also prepares individuals for opportunity. When preparation is consistent, readiness is automatic. There is no rush or panic when responsibility increases because the foundation is already built. This preparedness creates calm under pressure, allowing clear thinking when it matters most. Opportunities are maximized not by luck, but by disciplined readiness. Through discipline, identity evolves. You become someone who follows through, who remains steady, who progresses regardless of noise. This transformation is gradual but lasting. Each disciplined choice reinforces a pattern that shapes character and direction. The accumulation of these choices quietly alters the course of life, producing strength that is evident without being announced.